You ever feel eyes on you? Not just watching but judging. That's how it's been ever since I moved back here. Back to my family's farm. 30 acres of Georgia red clay and stubborn peach trees with roots just as deep as mine. My grandfather planted them in '62, back when a black man owning this much land had folks clutching their pearls and reaching for city ordinances. Now, decades later, I'm the one keeping it alive. Early mornings. Dirt under my nails. Peace. Or at least I had peace. The farm's a quiet hum most days, roosters crowing at dawn, bees drifting lazy between rows of wildflowers, wind sliding through tall corn like a whisper. My son and I live in the old farmhouse, restored with sweat and time. It ain't fancy, but it's ours. That matters around here, even if some folks like to pretend otherwise. Out here, I breathe. No corporate meetings. No city noise. Just land, sky, and work that matters. But lately, there's a shift. Like the air's heavy with something coming. Little things, notes tucked into my mailbox about unsightly equipment and code violations. A woman I don't know knocking on my door, smiling too wide, asking if I'd considered selling to developers. Cars slowing down at the edge of my driveway, windows cracked just enough to snap a photo. At first, I let it go. You live long enough as a black man in a mostly white neighborhood, you learn to pick your battles. You let the stairs roll off your back. You smile tight, keep working. Keep building. Let success speak louder than confrontation. But then came the day I met her. Karen. Tight blonde curls, pastel sweater draped over her shoulders like she's at a golf club, not a country road. She called herself the HOA president, even though my property isn't part of the HOA. Said she was just looking out for the neighborhood. Said my tractors were hurting property values. Said my farm gave the place an urban look that didn't fit the aesthetic. I didn't say much then. Just nodded, walked back to my barn, and shut the door in her face. That should have been the end of it. But Karen doesn't believe in leaving things alone. And her type never did like seeing someone like me, successful, self-sufficient, unmoved by her fake smile, holding onto land they think should be theirs. She's quiet for a few days after that. Too quiet. Then, yesterday, I found a drone buzzing over my fields, hovering just long enough to get footage of my livestock pens. And this morning, there's a Lexus parked at the edge of my driveway. Again. She's sitting inside. Phone to her ear. Eyes locked on me like I'm trespassing on my own damn land. Something tells me this ain't about property values anymore, and I have a feeling this storm's just getting started. At first, I think maybe I'm imagining it. The drone, the notes, the way Karen's Lexus keeps showing up like clockwork, it could be coincidence, right? Maybe she's just one of those nosy neighbors with too much time and too little sense. But then things start disappearing. A gate left open one morning, my goats wandering dangerously close to the road. The private property sign at the entrance ripped clean off, nails still embedded in the post. And 2 nights ago, the motion lights on the east side of the barn stopped working altogether. I checked the wiring myself. Cut clean. Someone's trying to send a message. I file a report with the sheriff, but I know how this works. They nod, write it down, promise to look into it. Nothing more. Meanwhile, Karen ramps up her visits. She starts coming by in the afternoons uninvited, just appearing at the edge of my fields like a specter. She always brings company, clipboard in hand, a man in tow with a county badge, murmuring about zoning compliance and community standards. Funny thing is, he never speaks to me directly. Only to her, and she speaks like she owns the place. We're concerned about safety hazards, she says, gesturing at my equipment like it's a pile of trash. We've had complaints about noise, she adds. I scanning my farmhouse like she's calculating how much it's worth. I stand there, silent, every fiber in my body tight with restraint. Because I see it now, the slow, methodical push to make me uncomfortable. To make me leave. I ask for proof of these so-called complaints. She waves me off with a smirk. Says they're confidential. What she means is they don't exist, but without evidence I've got nothing. Just suspicion and a growing fire in my chest. Then yesterday, she takes it a step further. I come back from the feed store to find cops on my land. Not one car, 3. Lights flashing, radios buzzing. And Karen standing tall in the middle of my driveway, waving them over like she summoned the cavalry. She points at me as I approach. There he is, she says. He's been threatening me. I'm scared for my safety. And just like that, the air shifts. Their hands go to their holsters. Eyes narrow. One of them starts toward me, fast. My pulse spikes. This is no longer a nuisance. This is a war. Sir, hands where I can see them. The words hit like a slap. I stop cold, hands raised, heart pounding. Karen steps back, clutching her chest like she's terrified, but I catch it, the glint in her eyes. Satisfaction. She planned this. I keep my voice level. This is my land. I live here. What's the problem? The officer, young, tense, eyes flicking between Karen and me, hesitates. Karen's voice cuts in before he can speak. I've called multiple times. He's been aggressive. There are weapons on the property. I don't feel safe. Lies. All of it. But here's the thing, truth don't matter much when you look like me, and she looks like her. I lower my hand slow. You can check my permits. This is a working farm. The equipment's legal. Everything's documented. Another cop steps forward, older, more cautious. You got ID? In the house, I say, nodding toward the porch. Karen pipes up again. He's stalling. Probably hiding something. That's when I snap. Enough, I say, voice sharp. You've been harassing me for weeks. Trespassing. Tampering with property. And now you're calling the police on lies. Her face hardens. The smile drops. Watch your tone, she hisses, or you'll be off this land faster than you can blink. The younger cop shifts uncomfortably. Ma'am, maybe let us handle this. I see the moment she realizes she's pushed too hard too fast. But she doubles down. You people always think the rules don't apply to you, she spits. Loud enough for every officer to hear. Silence. Time freezes. I stare at her, blood boiling. Not just for me, but for every time someone like her tried to erase someone like me with lies, with power, with the cops as backup. The older officer clears his throat. Sir, we're going to look into this. But if you feel harassed, you can file a complaint. Karen whirls on him. You're not going to arrest him? He's dangerous. The cop looks tired. Ma'am, we don't arrest people without cause. Her face crumples, anger, disbelief. You'll regret this, she mutters, glaring at me. I'll have you evicted. That's the moment I decide I'm done playing defense. I spend the next 2 days installing cameras. Every angle of the farm. Hidden, wired, live feed. I document every visit, every word. I file a formal harassment complaint, this time with proof, and I dig deeper. Turns out, Karen's not just the HOA president. She's got friends in county offices. Connections. Pull. That's how she got the inspector out here, how she kept pushing boundaries. But there's something else. She's been falsifying complaints, signing other homeowners' names, submitting fake reports about violations on my land. And I've got it all: emails, timestamps, footage. She thinks she's untouchable. But I've got one final card to play, and she won't see it coming. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see those cop lights flashing across my barn, Karen's smug face lurking behind them like she owns the world. I've dealt with petty harassment before, snide comments, long stares, but this is different. She wants me gone, and she's willing to do whatever it takes. The next morning, I make calls. Sheriff's Department. County Zoning Office. Even the local news station. I'm not just going to sit back and hope this blows over. I start recording everything. Camera on the porch. Motion sensors by the gate. I keep my phone in my pocket, recording every time I step outside. If Karen wants to play games, I'll be ready, and she doesn't wait long. 2 days later, I get a letter on official HOA letterhead, cease and desist. Claims I'm violating noise ordinances with my farm equipment, that my fencing isn't aesthetically compatible with the neighborhood's vision, and that I'm in breach of HOA guidelines. I laugh out loud. My farm predates this entire neighborhood. The HOA didn't exist when I moved here. Legally, they have no control over my land, but that's not the point. Karen's not playing by rules. She's weaponizing perception, authority, and race. She knows exactly what she's doing. I call a meeting with the other neighbors. Folks who've lived around here longer than her. Some of them are standoffish, wary. Others not, say they've noticed things too. Karen sent them letters. Complaints. Fines. Most people just paid and kept quiet. Not me. I tell them what she's done, how she's called the cops on lies, how she's vandalized my property, how she's trying to push me out. I show them footage of her on my land tearing down my signs. I show them the cut wires, the harassment. A few of them look uncomfortable. They shift in their seats, like realizing they've been silent too long. One neighbor, an older man named Frank, leans in. She fined me $500 for having a shed, he mutters. Said it blocked her view. The floodgates open. Stories spill out, fines, threats, intimidation. Karen's been running the HOA like a dictatorship, using fear to get her way. And now, she's trying to run me off my land. I document everything. I send the evidence to the sheriff again, this time certified mail. I contact a civil rights attorney. I even reach out to a local journalist who covers HOA abuses. Karen thinks I'm alone out here. She's wrong. But then she takes it too far. I come home one night to flashing lights again, but not from the cops. It's a drone. Buzzing over my pasture, swooping low, spooking my animals. I follow it with a flashlight, heart racing. It crashes into a tree near the fence line. I find it shattered, but the memory card's intact. I plug it into my computer, and my jaw drops. Footage of my entire property. From above. Zoomed in. Notes scribbled over the files, code violation here, unpermitted structure, evidence of livestock abuse. She's not just watching me. She's trying to build a case, one she can take to the county to get my farm condemned. I stare at the screen, blood boiling. This isn't about property values. It's about power. About race. About her belief that I don't belong here, that someone like me, black, independent, not bowing to her authority, shouldn't be allowed to own this land. This piece. She's pushing, hard, thinking I'll break. But I've got news for Karen. I'm just getting started. And when I'm done, she's going to regret ever setting foot on my farm. Saturday morning dawns gray and tense, the kind of sky that feels heavy, like it knows something's about to go down. And it is. Karen's called an emergency HOA meeting on my property. She plastered notices on mailboxes, claiming I'm in violation of multiple HOA mandates, that I'm an imminent threat to community safety. She even included a line about possible animal abuse investigations pending. Lies. All of it. But to the neighbors who don't know better, it sounds official. I could have stopped her, called the sheriff, served her with a cease and desist. But I let it ride, because I need everyone to see who she really is. By noon, my driveway is packed. SUVs, sedans, golf carts, people craning their necks, whispering. Some look curious, others nervous. Karen arrives last, of course, stepping out in a tailored suit like she's marching into a courtroom she already owns. She's carrying a folder. Thick. Smug. Ready. I stand by the barn, arms crossed, calm on the outside, but my heart's pounding like a war drum. My son Marcus stands beside me, silent, camera in hand. He's been filming everything. Karen walks right up, her voice loud enough for the crowd to hear. Mr. Green, she sneers, you've been notified of your numerous violations. This meeting is your chance to comply before we escalate this to county enforcement. She opens the folder, flashing photos, my animals, my fencing, my equipment. Then with exaggerated flair, she pulls out a document. Here's a petition signed by 38 HOA members demanding your removal from this neighborhood association. I don't even flinch. You can't remove me, I say quietly. My farm's not under HOA jurisdiction. Karen's smile sharpens. That's where you're wrong. We've lobbied the county. There's a proposed zoning amendment that would bring your property under HOA control. Retroactively. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Retroactively? Illegal? Probably. But Karen's betting no one here will fight her. She turns to the neighbors, voice rising. This farm lowers our property values. It's unsafe, unsightly, and it doesn't belong in our community. We're taking a stand for the safety and integrity of our neighborhood. A few people nod, but most shift uncomfortably. They've seen the videos I've shown them. The footage of her trespassing. The drone over my pasture. I let the silence stretch. Then I step forward. Karen, I say evenly, you've made a lot of claims. Let's test them. Marcus clicks his phone and a projector hums to life on the barn wall. The first image? Footage from the drone, Karen's drone, flying low over my land. The crowd murmurs. Next. Video from my security camera. Karen ripping down my private property sign, laughing. Then the audio recording, her voice clear. Let's see how long he lasts after the cops get called a few more times. I step closer, eyes locked on hers. You've harassed me. Vandalized my property. Filed false police reports. And now you're trying to use fraudulent zoning changes to steal land that's been in my family for generations. Karen's face goes pale. She sputters, you're twisting, this is all. I cut her off. Already sent everything to the sheriff's department. And to a civil rights attorney. Oh, and to Channel 8 News. They're doing a story on HOA abuse. You're the headline. I hold up a paper, the real petition. Signed by 20 neighbors calling for Karen's removal as HOA president. The crowd erupts. Some cheer. Others confront her. Frank steps up, furious. You fine my daughter $1,000 for planting flowers. Karen's composure crumbles. She stumbles back, clutching her folder like a shield. But it's over. She came here to bury me. Now she's the one being buried, in evidence and outrage, in the very power she thought protected her. And I'm just getting started. Karen's eyes dart to the crowd. Her kingdom is crumbling and she knows it. The smug confidence? Gone. What's left is panic barely masked by a trembling smile. She tries to regain control, clutching that folder like it's going to save her. This is all fabricated, she stammers. You edited those videos. He's lying. He doesn't even belong here. There it is. Her last desperate weapon. Racial exclusion. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Some neighbors exchange uneasy glances. Frank's wife, Lydia, steps forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Karen, are you seriously going there right now? After everything we've just seen. Karen tries again. He's making this personal, turning the community against me with doctored footage and false claims. It's slander. I don't say a word. I don't have to, because right then, a black SUV pulls into the driveway. Clean, tinted windows. County seal on the door. Karen sees it and freezes. Sheriff's Deputy Holt steps out. 6'2", stone-faced, and very familiar with Karen's antics. His eyes sweep the crowd, then settle on her. Karen Wilcox, he says loudly, holding up a document. We need to talk. The crowd goes dead silent. This is a formal notice of investigation regarding multiple reports of harassment, trespassing, and filing false police reports. Karen's voice cracks. You can't be serious. I'm the HOA president. I was enforcing the rules. Deputy Holt raises an eyebrow. Karen, you've filed 6 police reports against Mr. Green in the last 2 months. Each time, officers found no violations. That drone? Unregistered. Those trespassing incidents? Recorded. And this petition, he glances at the paper in her shaking hands, has already been flagged for forgery. The air leaves the crowd in a collective gasp. Forgery. Karen's knees buckle slightly, but she catches herself, trying to hold onto whatever shred of dignity she thinks remains. No, this is a setup. He's doing this because I'm trying to protect the neighborhood. Deputy Holt steps closer. Karen, you're under investigation and you've been served with a temporary restraining order. You are to cease all HA-related activities until further notice. Any further contact with Mr. Green or his property will result in arrest. Her voice breaks. You can't do this. I built this community, I protected it. I finally stepped forward, voice low but carrying. No, Karen. You bullied it. You used your power to harass, discriminate, and control people who didn't fit your mold. And you thought no one would push back. I take out my phone. The screen lights up with a live video feed, thousands of viewers watching on social media, thanks to Marcus streaming the whole event. Comments are flooding in. This HA Karen is done. He handled this like a king. I hope she gets sued to the ground. Karen stares at the screen like it's a death sentence. It is. Her reputation? Gone. Deputy Holt signals another officer, who escorts Karen to her car. She doesn't resist, but her face, twisted in humiliation, is burned into everyone's memory. Frank calls out, "What about the fine she hit us with? The fees? The inspections?" Deputy Holt nods. HA practices are under review. Any fraudulent fines will be overturned. The county stepping in. The crowd erupts, a mix of relief and justice. Karen tries to protest, but the words die in her throat. She's not the voice of authority anymore. She's just another entitled bully exposed. As her car pulls away, I turn to the neighbors. You were never the enemy. She was. We all deserve better, and now we get to build it. Marcus lowers his camera, smiling. We got her, Dad. All the way. 3 weeks later, the HOA's office is shuttered. The gold-lettered sign that once read, Wilcox Property Management, now hangs crooked, half-fallen, like Karen's reign, broken and abandoned. The news broke fast. Local TV, Reddit, even national headlines picked it up. HOA president exposed for targeting black farmer, caught on livestream, entitled HOA leader under investigation for harassment and fraud. Karen didn't just lose her position. She lost everything. The county launched a full audit. Turns out she'd been skimming from HOA funds for years, padding invoices, issuing fake fines, approving unnecessary inspections for kickbacks. Her house? Listed for emergency sale. Her bank accounts? Frozen. And the final blow? A class action lawsuit, filed by nearly every homeowner she targeted, with me as the lead plaintiff. The court date is set. Her lawyer? Some poor soul scrambling to defend the indefensible. She's gone radio silent. No posts. No statements. Vanished the same way her power did the second truth caught up to her. I stand on the porch, looking over my land. The sun dips low, casting golden light across the fields. The goats graze in the pasture. Marcus sits on the fence rail recording a final video update for our followers. You know, Dad, he says, we didn't just get justice. We changed things. He's right. Since that day, the neighborhood's different. People I barely spoke to stop by with pies, plants, or just apologies. Not the empty kind. The real ones, the kind where someone says, I should have stood up sooner, and you can tell it's been eating at them. Frank and Lydia invited us to their backyard barbecue, and for the first time, I didn't feel like an outsider. I wasn't the guy with the farm. I was just me, neighbor, friend, survivor. The town even passed a motion to dissolve the HOA, pending the investigation's results. A community board is forming, one where every voice has weight, not just the loudest one. Peace is back, but it's not the same peace I had before Karen stormed into our lives. No, this peace was earned, through grit, resistance, and refusing to bow. I walked down the gravel path, past the no trespassing sign Karen once tore down. Now it's framed in steel with a new camera pointed straight at the gate. Just in case anyone else forgets who owns this land. Marcus jogs over, laughing. Got one last thing, he says, handing me his phone. A notification blinks. Settlement offer from Karen Wilcox's legal counsel. I read it, and laughed. A six-figure payout. Plus public apology. I hand it back to Marcus. We'll take it. And donate half to community programs. Let something good grow from all this. He grins. That's poetic. Yeah. It is. I stare out at the horizon, the wind stirring the grass. The storm's past. The land is quiet, but I'm not the same man who stood here weeks ago. I'm stronger, sharper, and ready for whatever comes next. Because Karen's gone, but I'm just getting started. Let me know if you'd like to add a powerful closing line or tag for this Reddit post adaptation. Maybe something like, next time you call the cops on a farmer, make sure he doesn't already own your entire future.